Professional. And the council, I push all of the extra ones. You should. To the left. So they're all, they near each other on the fire department. You're not in there today, but because I think some of them have. Justin. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March 2026 contract committee meeting for the West Country County Unified School District. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. That. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now move on to what we're procedures with our NAT acknowledgement. We recognize that we are presently on the NAT of the Chochenyo, Nahuatl, Caribbean, and Ohlone peoples, and acknowledge them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy. I acknowledge that the burden of environmental exploitation and systematic injustice falls upon the labor of Black and brown bodies in the building of this country and its institutions. I remember that the Black and brown bodies were born and died working this land against their will for generations. I also acknowledge the continued contribution of the labor of survivors over the centuries to today, of all immigrant labor, including voluntary and involuntary forced and undocumented peoples in the building of what we refer to as the United States. Author Dr. Rochelle Rogers R. The governing board is committed to the work of anti-racism, the conscious and active effort of identifying, challenge, and correct racial inequities in the systems and institutions within our schools and communities. Racism, explicit or implicit, stands in direct conflict to the fundamental principles of district education. To carry district education into the future, we recognize that we must continually renew and reflect on the roots of racism and develop new ideas to meet the times. Unjust ideas and policies and the racial inequity they produce have shaped us, our schools, and society. The board strives to uncover unconscious biases and practices of anti-racism as individuals and as board members. We challenge ourselves to persist through the discomfort necessary for growth and learning to deepen our listening and our examination of racism and oppression, and to develop the strong understanding of how our personal experience and feelings fit into a larger picture of continual oppression. Each member of the governing board, individually and collectively, is responsible for creating and nurturing an anti-racist learning environment which each student, staff member, and community partner is respected and valued member of the district community. The governing board is uniquely positioned and is responsible to identify and dismantle racist ideas and inequitable policies in ourselves and across the district. Therefore, we commit to support anti-racist policies, programs, and practices for our children's education and well-being. While building strong and inclusive school communities, the board commits to holding each board member accountable towards these goals and moving the work of anti-racism forward. We also commit to holding West Contra Costa Unified School District staff, students, and community to living these standards of anti-racism in our schools. Board approved March 2024. And now we'll move on to roll call and introductions. Clerk Gonzalez-Lewis.
Good morning, President.
Board President Kenyatta. Good morning, President. Roll call.
If you could, say your name and then for our labor partners who you represent, that'd be great.
Certainly, good morning, everyone. Catherine Acosta, Nebraska's Associates of Rent and G. Summer Sigler, Associate Superintendent of TK-12 Operations. Shanti Smith, Director of School. Christine Gantcatcher, I'm Coordinator for CSAs and District Level 4 representing WCCAs.
Morning, everyone. Francisco Ortiz, Energy Supervision. Mark Mitchell, Executive Director, United Teachers Association.
Ed Moore, Union Representative, Teamsters Inc. United States.
John Avon, Teamsters Representative.
Morning, Justin Decker, IPT 1 SSA.
Kimberly Chamberlain, IDPG. Mary Kitchen, Business Services Coordinator.
Jeff Carter, Acting Associate Superintendent of Business Services.
Rosa Cornejo, Executive Assistant. I have the business of Cheryl Cox. And then our guests. Ashley Johnson.
Thank you everyone for the introduction. We'll now move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We do not have public comment online.
Do we have any public comment and present? So we'll now move on to history and context.
Good morning, everyone. So really quick, because Superintendent is going to go over the purpose and outcome, just a little history. This is our third iteration of this committee. Many of you have participated on it with me for the third time. Our goal, which Superintendent Connors is going to talk about in a minute, is for us to have a transparent process to look at our 4,000 and 5,000s, which is where we have the vast majority of our contracts. The board voted for us to have this committee and for us to bring recommendations to the full board by May. I'll pass it on to the superintendent.
Quick statement. Our vision in West Contra Costa Unified is grounded in ensuring every student thrives in a system that's equitable, high-performing, and accountable to the community we serve. At the same time, we're committed to fiscal responsibility and transparency because trust is built through clarity and shared understanding. The purpose of the contract committee reflects that commitment. Together, with our labor partners and community, we're taking a collaborative, solutions-oriented approach to reviewing each department to identify responsible savings. The outcome is not just a balanced budget, but a community-informed budget that reflects our shared priorities, strengthens our future, and holds us accountable to the students and families we serve. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go over our structure. For our labor partners, I emailed you this yesterday, so I apologize, I'm not gonna read it again. And for those of you who participated before, it's the same structure as we've done in the past. For those listening, I'm just gonna read it real quick. At each meeting, Mr. Carter, our Chief Business Officer, and cabinet members will present all unrestricted and restricted contracts within the 4,000 and the 5,000 object codes for the current school year. After the spreadsheet with the contracts is shared, we will review each contract one by one. The presenting cabinet member will provide an overview of the contract, including its purpose, funding source, and key details. Following the presentation, the committee will have an opportunity to ask questions. We will begin with our labor partners and then move to the board members. After questions, we will open the floor for discussion. During this time, each labor group may share their perspective on whether they support maintaining the contract or recommending its elimination in the future. Once all perspectives have been shared, the superintendent will offer her recommendation. Labor groups will then indicate their position using thumbs up, keeping the thumbs up, keep the contract, thumbs down, eliminate the contract, or neutral, no opinion, or unsure. President Young and I will then determine how to proceed with the recommendation to the full board. Any disagreements, whether from labor or board members, will be clearly noted on our notes. Ultimately, the recommendation brought forward, though, to the full board will be determined by the 2 board members of the committee. We will repeat this process for each contract. Some items may move quickly, while others may require more in-depth discussion or be tabled for additional information. For each meeting, we will have specific departments. Today, we are going to be going over business services, thank you. Business services, community engagement, possibly, and there was one more.
Affirmations, Title IX.
Title IX, thank you. Okay, I'll just let you say that.
They're all at the bottom.
So today we'll be
Oh,
going through business
okay.
services, positive school climate, risk management, state, federal, nutrition, TK-12 operations, Title IX, and college and career, Title X.
Thank you. Now I do want to make clear, I want us to go slow. I prefer we do this right, especially today, since our first day. We'll just do it, trial and error at the beginning, and see how it goes. Now, if there are certain items that require further discussion, we can always table a contract to get additional detail and bring it back the next meeting. Our goal is to have 3 meetings. If we need to, we'll have a 4th one in early May. We do have to be done by early May so that if there are any types of savings and the board chooses to potentially take back some of the RIFs, it has to be done before May 15th. So our goal is to be done with this committee by the 1st week of May. Are there any questions about the structure before we begin with the first contract? Okay, then,
Oh.
yes, Francisco.
So will all of the contracts be included, in terms of whatever is over in the overage for the budget this year, or
Over this year.
These are all as of March, like 17th, before all this.
no?
And it's both restricted and unrestricted. Good questions. Any other questions?
And they have a threshold of 25,000.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Yes. So anything above 25,000 was the request. Is there anybody who in the future would like to see any below 25,000? That was just what we requested. Okay, cool. Well, then why don't we get started? Our first contract, and Mr. Carter just emailed this spreadsheet to everybody, so you're welcome to pull it up on your email. Our first contract is this charter school oversight. just so that everybody knows where we are on the sheet. And I'll pass it on to Mr. Carden.
Yeah, so, good morning, everybody. I guess I just want to go over kind of the structure or layout of this document first, so we're all know what we're looking at. Each tab is gonna be a different department that we'll go through and has different contracts for each of them. On here, you've got your department, your requisition or PO number, a comment that was entered when the PO was created, the date, the vendor name, which is kind of what we're focusing on, the ordered amount, how much has been liquidated or spent so far, canceled and open amount. And then on the far right, we've got our account code structure, so you can see what fund it's from, the resource, which will be determining unrestricted or restricted, and then the object. And a lot more sections, but for the most part, we'll be focusing on fund, resource, and object. We can just dive right in. This first one is for charter school oversight. This is Edmetrics. It's a consulting company we use in business services to help do charter site visits, annual reports, and really any charter related support we need, they can provide. The contract for 40,000 with them. Depends on the year, on how many charter schools are being renewed and how often we are interacting with Edmetrics. Our charter biddy in the district is just one and me. So this is Edmetrics is a former employee that used to work with us, specifically with charter schools. And so we rely on them a lot for getting the charter process through and go without getting sued.
Are there questions on this contract specifically? Shani?
I do. So I just gotta clarify, so the employer that used to work, was this at SSA? Was this one of you guys' positions before? Coordinator on charter schools. That wasn't an SSA position? Oh, assistant. Director. Okay, and now, so that part is being contracted out, but there is a coordinator that can possibly do that. I'm just trying to figure out.
Not the legal, is that it?
Yeah, not the legal.
Okay.
That's the one thing I have double checked on. The legal ramifications that come through it.
It's too complex.
It's too complex and it's a lot. No, it isn't one of our. Not big our positions.
That's all.
Questions?
I had a question. Does that mean we can't talk about it more if I ask a question?
We're gonna do questions, then we'll do discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
What period of time is this collecting the total of 22,000 and then the line there?
This is everything we've invoiced or paid out through March of 26, so the school year so far. I would have to double check how many invoices where their billing is at, you know, the last invoice they might have sent us was in January, for example.
Okay, thank you.
Christine, and then we'll go to.
I guess I'm wondering if it was a position that existed before, what was the title of that position and what were the scope of services or responsibilities that that position had? Because that might have implications for other contracts that we will come up with later. So I'm just kind of curious if you're able to do that.
So we used to have an internal auditor, and I don't know Linda's official title prior.
She was the director, right? She was the director
Oh,
of
she was the
charter,
manager.
and that was her specific job.
Yeah.
Nothing else,
Charter school
just charter oversight, and that was it.
And I believe it was a team of 3 at the time. When she retired, the duties kind of shifted. The internal auditor position was closed a couple years ago. And right now it's in an SSA coordinator position is doing charter.
But not all charter.
Not all charter management.
That's not all that position does, where they previously under the director, it just that position. The district has chosen to add lots more duties onto a coordinator rather than the director.
Christine, did you have a policy question?
Thank you.
Kim, did you have a question?
Yes, so the 40,000 in the price. You said there's 22 at this moment
Bill,
billed. If we don't have any further billing, where does the rest of that money go?
it would fall under this is a unrestricted. This is a 0000, so it's an unrestricted contract, so it go back to the fund balance.
So the amount in question right now would be 17,360, that would potentially be a limit.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, she can. Thank you, thank you. Mr. Carter, I'm sorry to ask you to do this. Could you repeat what you were saying?
Yeah. So Margarita in our office over charter schools is the contact point for the charters. They submit all their fiscal reports at annual and interim periods for us to review and submit and approve for the county. So that process. They have the same timelines and dates as us for submitting financial reports. What Edmetrics does, you can see here, I brought up the goals of what they do. So they attend board meetings and co-present renewal petitions. They facilitate annual site visits. They prepare the annual report and presentation to the board. They provide support for district personnel with system administration tasks and Epicenter. Epicenter is the platform we use for charter schools to submit files to us. We provide updates, or they provide updates for site visits, charter renewals, and other Epicenter submissions, and prepare 2 renewing schools and districts for, well, in this year, 2 renewing schools, and the charter renewal process for 2027 for the upcoming. So that's all what they do for the current contract. It is saving money, as you can see, 40,000 instead of having a full-on position, which could cost 150,000 plus. Edmetrics is a team of 2, and then they have 1 or 2 other people that come and support for the site visits. So we're actually getting, depending on the workload, up to 4 people supporting the Edmetrics side of those staff reports and filing and coming to the board meetings like that. And then Lozano Smith specifically handles for charter school legal. Specifically questions from the board, making sure we are in compliance with everything, especially during renewals, hitting timelines and dates. As the laws change for charters, making sure we're in compliance, and just general inquiry in making sure we're in compliance for charter laws.
Follow-up questions on that. Out of the 1 FTE for Margaret Romo, if you were separated by FTE, how much of her FTE goes towards charter work? What I'm trying to get to is how much we spend overall for charter oversight, right? So I just, okay.
She's over a few different areas in our department. I'd say about 30 to 40% of her workload is charter.
Okay, and then if we were to do this work in-house and we had a charter oversight expert, in your opinion, would we be saving money on legal fees? 75,000 is quite a bit, obviously, for just charter questions. So
that varies year to year, depending on how many renewals and how difficult the renewal is. Specifically, our last 2 renewals were quite intensive. If we were to add another position that was a charter committee expert, I still think we would need legal advice, depending on certain situation and what the question is and what the issue specifically is for the renewal. Right, specifically if we're going to recommend denying a charter, making sure they're not going to deny them and then get sued and lose. So even adding or creating a more robust charter oversight committee within the district, we would still need Lozano Smith in that instance. And depending on the expertise of who we hired into that position, potentially you could remove Edmetrics. But they provide a lot of services for a minimal contract. Yeah.
thank you. Are there any additional questions, Christine?
So maybe just kind of following up to your question around legal services. So right now it's 75,000, depending on the difficulty of the renewal process, that could actually, it could increase or decrease, I guess, depending. So it's like a set amount. We just kind of set 75,000 to start, to kind of work until that's depleted and add as necessary.
Exactly. Yep. And throughout the year, depending on our trending, where we're trending, if we're at first interim, we check and see if we're above or below that pace for 75,000, and we would need to update or either increase or decrease it. Same thing in second interim, we did the same look and see what we think we will spend by the end of the year. So we left it at 75 based on the current trend and what we see coming forward. But any charter is going to be to us tomorrow, and we would still need to go to legal advice to make sure we're not out of compliance.
Okay, so then I guess my question, and I don't know who can answer the question, but it's be kind of like a wondering. When there was a director, I hear you saying regardless, you're gonna need you're gonna need legal services as questions come up. But I'm wondering, like, and I heard that Kim say, the person who is currently doing, Margarita doing the work, she doesn't have the legal background. So I'm kind of wondering, did the director have the legal background to know what to do? Did that minimize the
the need to access legal services comparatively speaking?
We had income. Legal. And that's not. That was a big change for all of us too. We had, I mean, I'm not saying we didn't do anything. With extra,
Higher, but there was.
but we had in-house legal at that time. So that made, I think, made a difference in how much we're spending out too.
Is that different from general counsel? Or is that?
If we
that's a
had
question
general
they-
counsel, that would be, if we had general counsel, they still, our general counsel would still have legal contracts. There's no eliminating legal contracts. I think that, did that person have a legal background? That person did not. That person had more expertise around charter schools and processes and what the laws were around charter schools, which was helpful. However, it's still, when we get to a point where something may become litigious, it still does require an actual legal counsel.
Specialized knowledge. Thank you.
I just have a
Sure.
follow-up question. So I just want to put, there's separate legal, so there's a legal team for the charter school. And then there's a legal team for just general ed.
We have multiple legal contracts. We specifically create POs to pay for those contracts depending on what services they're providing, right? So if we have special ed legal, special ed saying, if we have charter legal, so charter funds. So it depends. But there are multiple contracts with me.
Is that $75,000 cap being utilized completely? Since
Currently, we're at 57,000 out of 75 so far for the year. For charter advice, yeah.
So I'm reading the contract language here and. For the money, if we don't go over 50,000, 15,000 goes otherwise, that you can use this money to go into other legal matters, not just charter.
With Lozano Smith, sure, but.
That's what the contract says right here.
Yeah, but when they bill us, we take the invoices and billings specifically for charter, put it on this one, and then we take the other ones for Lozano Smith, put it on the other. Contracts. We intentionally try and can.
I understand you separate them out, and everything, but does that also, and do they, I guess I would ask, listening at the board meeting. One of the issues with one of our charters, particularly, it was the credentialing and the challenges. And I know that's mandatory nowadays, looking at those pieces, are they working with their site? We're getting, and our HR department to making sure that we are legally compliant with our.
So Lozano Smith doesn't work directly with their charter, their charter schools make their own legal advice. So this contract is not open to the charter schools to get advice from. These funds, this is just internal in-house.
I mean, we pay for a lot of things with charter schools, so I'm gonna be surprised at this point in time.
Yeah, this
So
is
they
not,
can't use our legal fees
not directly, but if we're in a meeting with them and with us. Correct.
but they can't call them up and use
No,
our.
they cannot call it on and that and charge us.
Okay, let's open it up for discussion. Is there anyone who would like to share any thoughts? Go ahead, Mark.
So. Over 13,000 students in our district are in charters right now. As of right now, we only have 21,942 students left in West Contra Costa Unified. That's 1,202 students less than we had last year. This is not a casual effort. This is charter oversight responsibility. There's been one change in the law since charters were created. That was AB 1505. It's not a gargantuan amount of changes to keep track of and how once. This service has not been competent or successful with Edmetrics. No MOUs that since I've been here in 2022, they haven't proposed or pre-prepared any MOUs regarding charter renewal for the board's consideration prior to the board requesting them. Doesn't seem to go to the charter board meetings to see if they're complying with the law or what shenanigans may be occurring, which are rampant in the charters in our district. And we had a charter non-renewal 4-0 vote of our board, the Richmond Charter Academy. This, I think it was this year. And after all that effort and resources that were expended by our district to get to that considered decision, it was appealed by the charter to the county Board of Education, and nobody from our district showed up. Not interim superintendent Moses, no staff people, nobody. It was Sky Nelson and our friend Linda, the contractor, her husband. Okay, Linda's husband made public comment against the granting of the appeal and was buzzed out after 1 minute. The most cogent argument that was made for denying the appeal was from Sky Nelson, who quoted trustee Smith Folds in her arguments against the charter renewal. And the board voted 4-1 to grant the appeal. We do not have a competent charter oversight operation here, and we are losing thousands of students and families to charters, and we've got to change this, and Edmetrics is not the solution. So UTR strongly recommends a hearty thumbs down on this contract, and how we do this function needs to be rethought with our new superintendents. Best thinking.
Thank you. Are there any additional thoughts on that? Sure.
I'm sorry, I'm just learning, so. That's okay. So. Just piggybacking off Mark, the role of this contractor is to make sure we stay out of, for the legal work, make sure everything is accurate, things of that nature. Is that the purpose of this contract? Is to kind of like make sure that the charter schools are staying in line and compliance?
Yeah, they give their expertise on the site visits and the staff reports.
But to Mark's point, if nobody's really showing up or we're losing students, what good is it to have that contract? That
So,
makes sense.
so they come to the board meetings where they're presenting the annual and staff site visits. I believe he was referencing the county meeting, the county board meeting. That Doug was president, but they prepare all this, the reports and the site visits for us instead of having another staff member doing that. So they have the expertise in the area, so that when they go to the site visits and review the charters that they're doing everything under compliance or are low, mid, or high performing, they're researching and checking into all of that during their visits.
Christine.
I think what I hear Mr. Mitchell saying, please correct me if I'm wrong. If in recommending a thumbs down, if this was a district position, you could be assured that that district person would be at all pertinent and relevant meetings as it pertain to charter oversight. So I guess that's if you're paying this money, I understand that the reports are doing the evaluation of program. They're producing that documentation along with the work that Margarita is doing on the financial end to make sure that we're whole in terms of due diligence. But if there are other issues, I don't know so much how they would necessarily play into the loss of students. I don't know where that piece comes in, but I think if we are trying to avoid, if you're trying to avoid making sure we are out of compliance, there is a different level of oversight. There is a district person as opposed to a consultant or a contract. I think.
It's not so much to make sure we're in compliance, as to make sure that the charters are in compliance with their obligations to the students, because the students are the responsibility of West Contra Costa Unified. And the services that they're providing or receiving and all that need to be in compliance with legal minimum. So this contractor is supposed to check that. That's not happening. And how it leads to loss of students is we have charter renewals that our board has decided are not appropriate, that because we don't have a competent program to really document and advocate for that at the county when it's appealed there, we're losing those the benefit of all the effort that our elected leaders put into making that hard decision. So we have a charter renewed for 5 years. with 380 students that are getting terrible educational service.
Any last thoughts?
I agree, that's not a thought, it's a question. So what's the difference? I know you threw out a number out there, if we were to have a person in-house doing the work. Because I know that you mentioned the legal aspect of it, that's still a contract that would have to stay in place. So all we would, now, all we're looking at is the ed metrics, right, position. I think that's the concern, the ed metrics part of the work that they're doing. If we had someone in-house, what does that look like?
It depends on the level of that job class, if it's in SSA or management. It could be somewhere,
Direction.
So comparable
director
to what we
position
had
that we had.
before,
yeah, probably 180, 200,000 with benefits and all in.
so we're looking at a change from. What is it, 40,000 up to 100 and now 80,000 if we were to bring that work in-house?
Yes.
Plus Linda had staff.
Right, it used to be a team of 3, currently have a team of 40%, 1% plus at metrics. So if you bring in 1 person or 2 people to be a charter oversight team, yes, they could spend more time on charter oversight. But you'd be paying in salaries more than you're paying in contracts to do it.
Okay, any last thoughts? Superintendent, do you have,
Just to be clear, is my understanding that no legal contracts are gonna be up for consideration?
no, we are.
Okay.
We're just on the first one. Yeah, out of 1,000, so get ready, we're gonna be here every day for the next month. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We started on a good one, Mr. Carter. So let's pass it on to the superintendent, give us your thoughts and recommendation. Then we're gonna move to the vote and then the board will discuss and decide.
I appreciate all everyone's questions and kind of thinking through. I do see this as a cost savings to the district in terms of maintaining a contract and supporting that work with staff at this time. I'm not recommending that we broaden that or bring an additional position back for that purpose. I do think that if there are questions and concerns about the impact that this particular vendor is providing, that we need to make sure that we're having those conversations with the vendor and that we are providing, direct feedback and evaluating that vendor as appropriate. That would be my recommendation. And again, moving forward, if we are examining other options, we could take a look at other vendors to support.
Thank you for that. Okay, so now we're gonna move to the vote from labor, in which each group gets 1 vote. So whoever from your team would like to do it, that's fine. So again, thumbs up is you will recommend that we keep this contract. Thumbs sideways is you are unsure, you don't care, whichever. You don't have a specific opinion, and then thumbs down is you would like to eliminate the contract. So let's go ahead and show our votes. And then for the notes, UTR and Teamsters recommend elimination, and then SSA and WCAA are neutral. Thank you. I was like sideways now. Neutral. Thank you. Okay, so discussion between us. I appreciated the whole conversation. I want to say that I have seen a difference between when Lynn Delgado was here full time and then the work that we've seen in the last few years. I feel like accountability on charters has definitely decreased. One, I actually don't know anything about our charter schools until the meetings occur at the board meeting, whether there's appeals or, renewals. With having a full-time person, we actually got reports all the time. Well, not all the time, but often. I feel like what happened a few years ago, we were convinced to do something out of savings and work was just added on to someone who was already doing a full-time job, right? And I think that was unfair for that person. I think it was unfair for the district. And I think the person who was envisioning how to do it then left the district, pretty quickly after that, right? So then the work stayed with Margarita. She's done what she can, right? And then we've had to go out and hire at metrics, right? I appreciate what the superintendent said about evaluating the vendor. I think that they gotta know that some of their work needs a little bit pump, I don't know what to call it. Because I definitely agree watching what happened at the county meeting. It was pretty embarrassing. And which we also have to figure out if we were not to hire a full-time person, how do we increase our accountability of charter schools and evaluation? Because it's just not cutting it, right? So we'd have to figure out something else. So I don't think that what we have is working. And with that said, I'm also worried about switching to a full-time position because it is gonna be a cost. Even Linda had Ed Escolar, who was from Losana Smith, at each meeting when we had renewals. So the cost for legal was still there. So I don't see per se a huge saving in legal fees. Even with a full-time person, because they might not have the legal backup, right? So I'm just worried about adding more when our goal is hopefully to find savings. We would be increasing what we are trying to achieve here by adding a position, but I definitely understand long-term, what is the best for this district? Is it to keep what we're doing, which is not working? Or is it to find someone who could do the service, even if it costs us more? And then maybe find savings long-term by getting more kids, right? Being more accountable to charters. That's what I'm thinking.
My thoughts on echoing what trustee Gonzalez said. I think we do need to work on a charter oversight. I think that we know that, services change, even though it's the same person doing the work. I seen it, in this position, and I seen it as a parent, the shift in how services or how presentations have been handled. I do believe that we're not in a time right now to bring someone in-house, but what I do believe is that we could direct superintendent to reevaluate that contract. Have, maybe moving on, put out an RFP to be able to bring in or solicit a new contract from others, and also, how do we get our Margarita and our oversight team, whoever that is, in the future, how do we get them working together? I think to be able to produce, so I think that'll be on Superintendent Cotton to be able to kind of move some of that work, so, hey, what can we do as a district to change how the oversight is working? So, yeah, those are my comments.
Yeah, so this is what I would recommend that we do. I recommend, it's the first one, so it's funny that I'm gonna recommend this, but I recommend that we actually table this one for a decision for us. And to see if staff can actually go back to Admetrics and change their contract to add more accountability and add more measures that would add, more positive work long term. If that's not something that we can do, then, we can make a different decision on this contract, but I would like for us to try. And then decide. What do you think?
I think we could, I also wanna add to it, I think we need to have a conversation of board expectations, especially around charter oversight, like, what is it that we expect? Do we expect to get, constant reports for how many reports we want to offer, and have that conversation of like, hey, is this gonna be something that you can now add into this contract without the added fees? Or just, really, standardizing, like, I think what our needs are, because I think they're giving us what our expectations have been. But I think if the board has a new direction, that we need to ensure that we are highlighting what our expectations are. And having those conversations and then reevaluating, is this a contract that we move forward with? Or do we now start looking at other providers that may be able to do the work and can fulfill our needs at once as a board?
I think that We're going to call for a study session for the board to set. For the clear expectations. Or the- And what information they want to receive. On a regular basis. I think that should be a conversation with the board. In the Senate.
Okay, we go to it. Okay, we're gonna table the first one.
Okay. So there's over 1,000 of these that are contentious now.
Some will go fast. I think you picked a good one to get us started.
Okay.
Where's the Zoom contract?
Yeah,
That'll be an IT.
okay, let's move to the next one.
Next one, Emix is our Inform K-12 contracts. We have a platform that we use internally for forms, time cards, personnel requisitions, vacancy stipends. Employees are constantly submitting forms on there so that they go through a workflow process to be approved by their supervisors. Comes to business services, comes to HR, comes to payroll, and ultimately paid or processed depending on which department that time card is for. It's pretty integral in the way we do business in business services and HR. It's total about $100,000, but we have over 200 forms currently in process with them in our district.
Thank you. Questions? We'll start with Kim and then we'll go to Shane.
Who oversees this? Who's going to oversee this when the person are gone? Who's been trained? It's difficult. I mean, I use the form. Yep, I'm not stating that.
Yep.
But also, I mean, you need to make sure who's gonna oversee it.
Yeah. So currently it's Mary Kitchen. That is the general go-to for Inform K-12. There are a few different owners depending on what the form is. So the payroll forms is owned by the payroll director, the HR forms have some HR.
Yeah, but
oversight.
who's to go
No,
to?
no, I'm.
That, I get it, but
Give you
I,
context, the business
I-
services oversees the personnel requisition forms. But majority of them and the go-to person for support and setup and new forms is Mary Kitchen. That
fixes, issues. I mean, I've had to make complaints to the departments if there be challenges and issues, and I don't have what was married,
we definitely see the value. in it.
but.
Inform K-12 does also have a wonderful support team there, so you can always go there to them. I'm training other people, and I'm trying to get a lead from each department, to take over their list. For instance, special ed, Brenda taking over hers, and, HR, Danielle is trained as an administrator. So, working on it.
So my next, then that leads into my next question is, with the challenges of all these, absorptions that's been said over and over again. How do we know those people are gonna be in those positions at this point, and they'll be going? And as of June 30th, there's challenges. And people that were in positions that might be, who've been trained and thought they were going to be continuing in their position, are going to be absorbing a different position. Challenge, change over to a different position, so that's gonna be.
Yeah, and we're looking internally at strategies to keep that in place.
Then with the contracts, we have to pay more for Form K-12.
No, I don't believe so. The contract we're on gives us something.
Help that support. That's my question.
They don't
have that
provide any help desk support for internal district matters unless they're having a website issue, right? Like they solve their own website issues, but they don't provide any district support for how to learn or use it.
And we're on our own.
Yes. Mary.
Oh, no, I mean, that's not correct. Inform K-12 has lots of webinars, they do training sessions. And they have a support, tab that you can push on every page that, they get back to you within 24 hours and resolve issues that will be back with you. We also have a sales rep with the. So
for entry level.
Currently, that's parents that does those interactions.
Well, yeah, but I've also encouraged people to reach out to support themselves.
Shanae,
Oh, I'm gonna withdraw.
anyone else have any questions? Is K-12 like the cheapest vendor that does this work? There. Do we know?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Is K-12 like the cheapest vendor that does this type of work for school districts?
It's the best vendor for school districts because it's created for school districts. There's other vendors out there, but they don't fit the niche exact. It's created to work with a workflow of a school district. And, I've checked a couple other companies and they just didn't have all of the bells and whistles that incorporate.
Thank you. Okay, let's go. Sorry, go
What are some of the bells and whistles that?
The reporting capabilities out of Inform K-12 are astounding. All of the other ones I checked didn't, allow for you to be able to do the intricate reports. They've also got, API that you can, set up so it'll function directly with our financial system to export files and stuff. We're currently working on trying to, take our 5 payroll time cards and condense them down so that it can export into a much better Excel spreadsheet and save a lot of time. So, they're constantly improving and, there's some really good things that can do in reports. The workflow capabilities are also, really good. I can send something out and with a conditional question, have it go 3 different ways, to different people to approve. None of the other ones allow that. They only have a direct line of approvals.
When that goes into my next question, I'm glad you brought that up. Are we using all the bells and whistles to its full potential?
Absolutely. And right now I'm in development for the forms for next year. And they've came out with like 5 new improvements and I'm implementing all of them.
Let's move to discussions. Anyone have any specific thoughts on this? Okay, school plan, do you have a recommendation on this one?
I recommend that we continue with.
Okay, so let's move it forward and vote. Labor, how do you feel about this contract? Unanimous to keep. Yeah. We'll keep listening.
Do we specifically want to go to Lozano Smith Charter legal advice, or did we already talk about that? Want to vote on that separately?
Let's vote on that separately.
Lozano Smith is our provider that we go to for legal advice for charter schools specifically. The contract right now is set up for 75,000. It was spent about 57 so far through what we've been building so far this year.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Mark? Sorry.
I know, Jeff had already answered, how much is spending. I guess how much they spent out of the 75,000. I guess I'm just trying to figure out, because I know the district has a practice of just turning everything over to the attorneys to do, even things that could be done in-house. So I'm just curious, and I don't know, like, what type of cases is leading up to 75,000. I'm just curious.
The renewals are the biggest go-to make sure we're in compliance with our staff recommendation based on their performance as a school or checking timelines and dates and just in compliance with the law. I understand what you're referencing. Lozano Smith is not one that specifically does physical work for us. They give advice and give opinions and give us strategies, I guess, if we ask what are the 2 outcomes, they give us legal advice if they think will win or lose the legal case in that scenario. To guide our next steps. But for charter schools specifically, Lozano Smith is not doing any of the physical work. That's mostly Ed Metrics for Margarita.
Right. Okay.
So, I had two questions. One, why aren't we just using the same law firm for everything and trying to get some economy of scale, perhaps by negotiating better arrangements with one firm? And that they all have similar competencies, the ones that the district uses. The other thing is, this is just for advising our staff and the board. There hasn't been any lawsuits by charters against the district in my, to my knowledge, since I got here in 2022. Is that right?
It is advising the board and the staff on questions. They're also on call during board meetings, sometimes depending on the agenda item. In terms of economies of scale, we can look at downsizing that, and going to one, less firms. Typically, we go to this simple firm that has the expertise in that area. Lozano Smith has been that role for us for charter schools. Some of them don't have the capacity to do the amount of legal advice from all of our departments that we provide. So there are some needs to branch out to multiple firms, depending on the subject matter expertise. Capacity.
Do you have an additional question? Shanae, did you have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
They got, I'll come back.
Yeah, no worries. So for this year, we had 2 charter renewals last year, last fall. Thank you. So far we spent about close to $58,000 for that. This coming year, I heard you say would have 1 charter renewal. Is that correct?
We have one for sure. I'll double check.
Okay,
But we do site visits every year, probably.
but legal counsel did not attend that, right?
They don't attend.
I think that'd be good.
But depending on what the findings are, if there's next steps needed in the report, there may be advice. But typically, no, they're not involved.
And Ed Metrics can't help us with like letters of concern, things like that.
They do.
They do.
They
Okay.
draft those, yeah.
So what is legal's role if there's concern legal in a site visit?
Ed Metrics is not a legal firm. They have expertise over years of dealing with charter schools, and they have examples and templates that we utilize multiple times. But if there's a new issue that comes up or arises, it's what's honest in that scenario.
Okay, and because we budgeted $75,000, that's what it's currently showing as of the second interim, right?
Correct.
So, okay, next year, if we were to budget according to what we did this year, it would show another 75,000 for next year, correct?
We take that into account, but we'll look at where we actually end up through June, to actually determine what we'll budget for next year. If this comes in at substantially higher than 75, we would probably need to increase it. We really look at like a 3 to 5 year trend of what we budget for. If the last 3 years all end up around 60,000, we would lower that amount. Actually, this is the lower amount, 75, last year was 100,000, what was budgeted. We didn't spend it all, we transferred some of it for other things, but this is the lower amount for this year, 75,000.
And I heard you say that for most of their work is them advising the board, answering our questions. So if the board was to ask less questions of legal, we could see a decrease in this contract.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Stupid question. I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
And if I'm jumping ahead, please tell me to yield. So one of the things I would say, I was looking last night across all of the different areas. And one of the things I noticed is at Lozano Smith, we have a few different contracts with Lozano Smith. Totally almost 400,000. So, my question is maybe referencing something before, if you had in-house counsel to address these particular things. So right now it's with ed metrics, is that right? So around the charter issues, we have them working around Title IX, and I understand that you absolutely need to make sure that you have legal counsel around that. And then there's a completely different law firm that addresses about like $25,000 contract or something else. So to the economies of scale comment, would it make more sense to have in-house counsel to address these particular things, have expertise or have counsel with expertise in this area, as opposed to having paying out over $400,000 in contracts across these two particular areas? Just a question.
It could, but even when we had general counsel, they still get legal advice in all the areas of the law, right? You could hire specifically somebody who has expertise in those areas and potentially save them. We spend there, these are just the ones we're looking at today, but there are many more legal contracts that will come up over the next couple weeks. Yes. Potentially could see some savings and hire in-house counsel that have expertise in all the areas we need.
Is there someone that, before it goes to legal? Right? Kind of, is there anyone that's like, okay, this needs to go, we can do this here in-house, or director can manage this? Is there someone to kind of, that way, all the money, some things can be done here?
Is that specific to charters or all the?
Yeah, just this charter, this.
So for the charters, Margarita and we'll work with Ed Metrics first before going to legal.
Right.
They'll both determine or make the recommendation if we need to go to legal first, something above their pay grade or above what they have.
Generally, Shanae, cabinet members would direct that. So you're asking what's. the
Yes, yeah,
process?
like that process.
Generally, that would be the
Yeah.
process.
So,
I think that this is a little bit more unique because it's very specialized,
Yes.
and we've got one staff member who's working with a vendor. When they're stumped, it's gonna.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on this? Superintendent?
I recommend maintaining the contract at the current status pending a review of the use of funds over that 3-year trend to determine what the budget would be for next year, but I recommend.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to the vote. Labor, how do you feel about this one? UPR eliminate.
Hold.
Eliminate for Teamsters. SSA.
Personally, I don't think we should be looking at right now, until we get the contract. And veterans.
You would recommend
I
table?
wanna, my recommendation is to put this on hold until after that. I don't think that is appropriate to continue with one part of the charter, right, without having the other. So, I understand.
Well, my recommendation was going to be that we table it as well, just because I do want to see a reduction on this. One, if we have less charter coming. Two, I think that if we have a board discussion, we need to have a discussion about how much should we use legal as a board. I think that we as a board have overused legal as well as staff. I think there needs to be a conversation between staff, ed metrics, and legal about what is the most appropriate use of each of the 3 roles. So I do agree that we have overused legal. I've seen it many times. I would want to see this reduced to 50,000 next year at least. Just because I think that we are overusing that. And I think that we should bid to see if Mr. Escobar will give us a lower rate. Or if we could potentially use another law firm. What are your thoughts?
I'm okay with tabling it. I think that when it comes to the use of legal, we need to release I'm glad that somebody brought up the expertise within staff. And I know that having someone in a position where they can be of value because they've been in this position, they see it, but I think staff is very new at all levels, and we're having a constant turnaround that it affects the day-to-day working, right? You know, whoever's seen it today might not be in that position to see it tomorrow. So there's that inconsistency part where then we have to allocate it to legal because that person in the position hasn't been there long enough to really chime in. So I believe that, we should table it and really look at how we start supporting our staff to be able to retain, to be able to then have them become the experts that will diminish some of that legal advice that we're constantly looking for because we haven't been in this position. So I agree, we need to take this.
All right, thank you. Next up, is schools excess liability fund or self? This is a JPA. The dollar amount's over $1 million. This is a JPA of insurance groups that we used to be in through 2006 or 2007. And with the AB 218 law changing recently to open up how many years back people can sue us for sexual abuse claims. We have been exposed to multiple lawsuits. The insurance fund that we used up through 2006 was JPA, so they're getting lawsuits from multiple districts. This is the charge from them to us for insurance from, I want to say, 84 to 2006. Any additional cases that are coming from that time frame, they bill us since they were the insurance provider at the time, and the insurance we paid for at the time did not cover the additional cases that have been coming forth over the last couple of years. So we've recently been being invoiced through an insurance company we would no longer use. We've been with Keenan since around 2007. But for the time period that these cases are coming from, our prior insurance company is billing us for cases that we were not covered for in the level of insurance we were paying for at the time. So this is about $1 million a year in sexual abuse and liability cases.
Mr. Carter, can you give a little more context of what changed in the law?
Yeah, the statute of limitations was opened up. I don't want to say to it opened it up to 40 years. And then they had to file by about a year or two ago. They didn't, and then if they filed after that time frame, it was a shorter time period, like 10 or 20 years instead of 40. But there was a limited window where they could file cases against school districts or anybody up to 40 years ago. And so we had closed out our insurance, we had paid everything up to that point, and then this statute of limitations was expanded, and we're seeing cases come that are from 30 plus years ago. And so it's a cost that we had to pay for.
So just for context, this is happening in every district. I know you guys read LA Unified, it's close to like $500 million that they have to pay in 1 year. So it's a huge expense, obviously, that a lot of districts have, right? But let's open it up for questions. Any questions? Mark?
So Jeff, if the period in which plaintiffs could file is over, and we've settled a bunch of claims because we're paying out this money, and what's left?
Yeah, so this is actually a 2-year, this is a bill that they allowed us to pay over 2 years. So it's actually a $2 million bill to us. We're paying $1 million this year and $1 million next year. They foresee, well, a lot of it comes down to some of those cases were filed but not settled yet. Once those cases are actually settled, we'll get the bill. So even though they filed a couple years ago, it could still be going through the whole legal process, and we don't know the outcome yet. This company, JPA, has a board as well that approves the amount they're allowed to charge and things like that, so. They. Are giving us the invoices as the cases are approved. In lump sums, and so they'll tell us a year ahead of time what we know our bill will be next year, so we know this is $1 million this year and $1 million next year. If additional cases settle in that time frame, they will give us a new invoice for year 3 of that case. But they should slow down. This is a massive bump in a spike in services right now for them. But they should slow down eventually, once we get through this year, next year. They think there's a potential for year 3 and 4, a 2-year split again, but that would be undetermined yet, depending on when those cases settle.
So this isn't really a contract that could be altered, it's obligated, this is like a bill.
This is an obligation, yeah. But we're showing everything in the 4s and 5s that have a PO for over 25,000. Yeah, it's an obligation.
Any additional questions?
So we actually have no idea what the amount would be over any prolonged period of time.
No, they let us know, like I said, they let us know about a year ago that we would be getting a $2 million bill. And then about 6 months ago, they told us we could split it in 2 years.
Actually, I do have another question. So then you said this was the old insurance company
Yeah.
and we've since switched to Keenan. Is that in here somewhere? Like, are there any cases that Keenan is currently handling that is not in here? Or did I maybe I missed?
Correct, yeah, so under risk management tab, we'll get
Okay.
to Keenan
Okay.
in a second.
All right, thank you.
They are very expensive. So this is just the. We put this under business services, but it's just the. bill we pay. Yeah, they allow us, if we pay early, a slight reduce in fee, but we don't really have the cash on hand to do that each year, so. We pay what we're off.
Okay, any discussion on this? Okay, Superintendent.
It is an obligation, it's something that we could cancel.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to the vote. UTM sideways. Okay.
I think I haven't thought so, because we have no choice but to do the pay this.
Agreed. We can.
Next one, Nicolay Consulting. These are our actuarials that complete our GASB 75 required audits. They give us an outlook and a trend on our OPEB. So this is the other post-retirement employment benefits. They do the projection, they tell us how much we're gonna owe, and we budget that amount in the following year to pay the pay-go amount out of the current fund. Historically, out of Fund 01, the contribution was 71. With this solvency plan, we're no longer making that contribution or transfer to 71, we're just paying it out of the balance. But this is a required CDD audit guideline that we have to complete. We are not actuaries, so we sort it out.
Are there any questions? Mark?
It's a recommendation by the CDE.
No, it's a required audit guideline. Like you have to do it to pass your audit. It's a finding.
Any other questions?
So does this evaluation have to be done by an outside source?
We would have to hire a licensed actuarial. So, no, it's not required to be outside, we just don't have any of those. But it's also 40,000, which is a salary would be more expensive than.
I mean, I believe the salary for just this would be more expensive, but someone with in-house within this position or this education, matrix, be able to do other stuff for us. Do we have similar contracts? Do we have similar contracts that tend to do some of the same work that an in-house position could potentially strive to do? This is just something that's
This is a one-off report we do once a year for the audit, and every other year it's to do a full one, and every other year we do a partial one. So every other year, this is half off.
Yeah, but what I'm going at is, are we doing other internal audits? Where this auditor might be, if we had an in-house auditor. Could they be of value to be able to do other internal audits?
So this isn't the auditor, this is us completing an item for the auditor. So the auditors ask for 100+ items, this is one of those items that they
Well-
provide.
Yeah, I understand it, so I know that we are supplying the information to that auditor, right? But it's a person within house in this position could support other auditors, that's what. Could support other auditors from other departments to get some of this work done.
There's not currently additional work that an actuarial would provide us other than this one item.
Okay.
Sharon, did you have a question?
I'm going to drop it now, idea, but.
No worries, I just don't wanna miss it. Any discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did have a question. So I just want to understand that the business prepares the audit, prepares the documents for them to process the audit?
So
Yeah.
the business services runs reports, gives them number of employees, number of retirees, the data we give to Nicolay. They actuarials put that into a study and a report and give us 50-year trends on what it's gonna cost. And then they give us a report, a GASB 75 report, that we then provide to the auditors and say, here's your GASB 75 report, that item is checked off.
And you said it's required, there's no one in houses. Or that can be hired to prepare that for the audit.
We could hire an actuarial to do this for us. But we'd be paying a full salary, we'd have to assign them some other duties potentially throughout the year, but. I
Combine the contract. Like if you have two contracts, then maybe, I think that's what.
Yeah, no, you could hire another person and if, as long as they are a licensed actuary, it might be overpaying them to do whatever other work for.
And this amount varies, right? Because they just bill you straight up.
This amount varies year to year, they get a
Yeah,
little more
year to year.
expensive, but it's a 2-year study. For the GASB 75, and we pay this amount for the full study, and then in the off year, they do a refresh of the main one, right? Like we give them the new numbers and they just refresh it. So it's not this amount every single year, it's this amount every other year.
You guys bid on the different contractors for this?
We have in the past, yeah. We've been using Nicolay for years though.
Is this Shannon?
No, that's Ryland.
Right.
Okay, superintendent,
I recommend that we maintain this contract and this work with the services across the municipal district. In lieu of creating a position to do, the actual.
labor? Spoke? Sideways. Sideways, yeah. Yeah, kind of how we feel, probably. Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay, we'll retain feeling, about it. Okay. We can move to the next one.
Next one, public economics is a brand new one. It just got passed at the board on March 11th, at the last board meeting. They are going to do a study and they're being paid out of Fund 40 as context. They are going to do a study on our Fund 40 revenue. To check the parcels of land, to check what the cities still owe us over the next 12 to 13 years. So we can project out our revenue for Fund 40, and they're going to try and reassign some of those Fund 40 dollars to Fund 01 to be used as the contribution to RMA, which is our routine maintenance. So instead of using Fund 01 to contribute to Fund resource need 150 for RMA. We are gonna look to repurpose some of this Fund 40 revenue to be used as the contribution to RMA instead. RMA is a required 3% contribution to every school district to routine maintenance on their facilities and buildings. Similar to our 3% required reserve. We have to have that, which is around 16 million, depending on the year. And we're looking, get about 8 million a year currently from Fund 40 that will keep diminishing over time as the cities pay us back. But we're looking to use maybe 1, 2, to 3 million of that as a contribution to fund to RMA. So they're going to do that study. They're going to give us the board resolutions to bring to the board to repurpose those dollars and do a study on it.
Thank you. You haven't meant to anyone who can repeat everything that was. Practically, what you're saying is that it's a study to see how much cities will pay us per parcel.
Yeah, they owe us
For
a
the
dollar
next-
amount and they're gonna make sure they're maximizing what they owe us.
Any questions?
Does that include the plan that we're not using?
No, this is back in the like 50+ years ago when the cities were developing. They had parcels and plots of land that they were building on our district area. And so they kind of, it's like an IOU, they pay us back later. It's kind of like a bond. It's a city bond to us kind of thing. So no, it's not parcel of the land we're not using. It's parcel of the land that they were developing on as the cities were growing.
That in Cook County?
So the county also does this, and this is the company that the county recommended to us to use, so that we do it in tandem, because they're doing the assessment on our area anyway for the county, because they're doing it for all counties. But they're gonna do it specific for us.
Okay, so that leads into my question, if there was already property on land, such as the old doctor's hospital, and now the new property is being, housing is being built in on that land, and there's gonna be taxable, are we going to get money?
Potentially, I mean, that's what this company would tell us.
I just, just because it's a plot of land and they're building on it, or they had something in previously over 50 years ago. Now that there isn't anything on there and they're gonna start getting revenue from that, are we going to get some of that revenue? All of that?
Yeah, this is a complicated formula for the revenue. We get like 60% of certain of it, 40% goes to the county. There's like a whole breakdown of where it goes, but yes, they would put that in their study.
I want my dime.
They do believe they will find us additional revenue, but they'll have to complete their study to help us officially.
Yeah, because I mean, we've had a lot of buildings and a lot of housing.
Yeah.
And changes, like in the city of El Cerrito, city of Richmond, and all.
Yeah, we have currently 40 parcels, and I believe in the next couple of years, about 8 of them will start expiring. And then the longest one we have is 13 years left. So that 8 million will continue to diminish that per period of revenue. But we're using that to fix our facility buildings for what it's intended for. We're just gonna try and redirect it to save the general fund something.
Is that allowed?
Yes, and then they're gonna bring the board resolution and everything that is required to make that.
So Carter, does this company charge us money if they find money? That's how it's.
No, it's a flat fee that we're actually sharing services with the county, so that if they're doing work in our area that they would have or would do for one but not the other, that they're overlapping, we're not getting double.
Any last questions?
We're on public economics, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Alright, so is this service where they're identifying the corrective or the maximized amount of revenue, is the county required to provide that revenue, or are we already guaranteed the revenue that is ongoing?
we're guaranteed the revenue. Revenue comes straight to us into Fund 40, yeah. It doesn't filter to the county.
Okay, so we're already gonna get the revenue regardless of the study.
Yes, but we don't know how much, so it's hard to budget on what the out years will look like and when that will start expiring and making sure for our 5-10 year master plans. We know how much we can allocate towards fixing tracks or roofs or things like that.
Could we take a 5-year average of what we've received in the past 5 years and do the calculation based on what is?
No, because the parcels, as they get fully funded, they drop off. So of the 40 parcels, if over the next 2 to 3 years, we lose, I think about 5 of them, we'll go down to 35 and we don't know how much revenue that specific parcel was providing to us. So it's just gonna give us a better outlook of what our future revenue for Fund 40 will be. And then repurposing those dollars to be used district-wide in Fund 01 rather than on the specific areas that that revenue came from.
And is the county also contracting with the same company that is
Yes,
providing the study?
yep.
Do we get the study from the county?
No, the county ones are for, they're looking at the county revenue, because the county gets a portion of that. So they're doing it for themselves, they're not doing it for West Contra Costa revenue. So there is some overlap, and that's why we're partnering with the same company, so that they're not doubling the work, but the county isn't doing a study for our revenue, tell us ultimately what it would be.
Okay. Piggybacking on Francisco's comment. With the county doing it, even though we're not overlapping, will we still have access to that information for those county parcels that,
Yeah, we can ask.
and if this is being done now, and you're saying it just affects how we budget moving forward, is this something that has to be done now, or can this be tabled to?
Want to do it now so that we can repurpose the dollars into Fund 01 and reduce our RMA contribution. Fund 01. It's a revenue saving. It's one of the parts of the fiscal solvency plan that we're trying to divert the Fund 40 revenue into Fund 01 to help our deficit.
So Jeff, I looked at it in the link, and it looks like it's a contract that's already signed, that's currently obligated, and this work is going on right now. It's not really for next year, so I don't know, even, we couldn't vote to cut it, it's already got.
Yeah, we're pulling everything in the system.
Okay.
Now, I mean, we did.
And then I had another question based on your comment. If you do find, if this study does show that we have money that can be repurposed from Fund 40 to Fund 1, are you going to count that as revenue in projecting revenue for future years so that we can scale back the financial calamity projections that have been de rigueur?
It is projected as revenue in Fund 40 currently. It would be a transfer to Fund 01, and then it would be a contribution to RMA. So it would not show up in Fund 01 as revenue. It would show up as a transfer and a contribution out.
So it would help us.
It will help us because we are contributing less to RMA. So right now we contribute $12 to $15 million. If we transferred in $3 million, we would only need to contribute $9 million. So you're going to see a reduction in money going out as a contribution.
And you as the CBO would be willing to project that based on the results of the study?
Yeah, we'll bring it to the board for approval, but yeah.
Okay, any discussion? Yeah, this is a this year contract, so it's obviously not being moved forward anyway, so. Okay, let's move on then.
Okay. Pitney Bowes, district postage. We have a meter at the warehouse that we refill with credits that produce stamps, and we mail out checks and vendor checks and HR letters, and we pay for postage. Yes.
Returns. Information on returns, how is that simple for the postage? Because we get a lot of return postage, according to office staff, they're getting return letters back to them from misprint on the labels that are being sent out to, how is that handled at that peak if occurs? And does that include the postage that was going out, that 50 that include the recent certified letters.
The recent certified, so again, this is a meter that we fill up and then we spend down throughout the year. So we pay it all up front to fill up the meter for the year, and then the warehouse, as they mail things out and take letters, it deducts from the meter itself. So we have a certified meter from the post office. That for, I don't know, maybe it's not provided by the post office, but the company that provides it charges us.
So it isn't, they don't do anything else. You get the money back or anything at the end of the year?
We just pay for stamps.
Yeah, it's just put on the meter. If we don't use it all, it carries to the next year.
Yeah.
We don't lose it.
I want to find school. Guidance, Jim.
Sites can send stuff to be mailed to the warehouse or to the mail room. Something like that.
So we just refill it as it gets empty.
Any other questions? And we used the full $50,000, it's just like,
Likely more than that. We had carryover at the start of this year, so we didn't budget the full 100,000. So we only budgeted 50,000 to replenish it this year. And when it runs out, we'll have to refill it again. So we are attempting to let this get us through 25-26 and refill it again next year to get through next year. But there are years where it's more than 50, depending on when they run out, we have to order.
any discussion? Sprinton?
I recommend we continue.
Okay, let's move to a vote. Labor partners. Thing. What's that? Okay. Thank you. We can go on the next one.
All right, these next, well, actually, they're not in a row, but, AA, office equipment, TFS leasing, and Canon Financial Services, these are all, printing services, copier machines that we have throughout the district at department offices and school sites. It's a maintenance contract, a leasing contract for them, and, the print shop machines. So all three of these are for printing services or copiers or leases.
The maintenance contract is the AA office, and then could you tell us which one's which?
Yeah, so the maintenance contract is the, Mary can specifically tell me, but maintenance contract is the Canon Financial Services. The leasing, TFS leasing program is where we're leasing 84 copiers, is that what you said?
I didn't write the dollar, the quantity down.
Yeah.
So the maintenance agreement through AA office is for 145 copiers throughout the district. The TFS leasing is a year 3 of a 5-year lease agreement. It's a lease to purchase, and those are located at schools and departments throughout the district. The Canon Financial Services is the district print shop lease and maintenance 5-year term on 2 different copiers. One expires in 28, the other expires in 31.
Got it, so I'll take your agreements.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, Shannon. Go ahead.
So I do have a couple of questions about, because I know we have classified staff who goes out and prepare those copy machines and things like that. I know that's been a conversation. It's stepped away, but that's been a conversation in the past, that classified staff can actually prepare these copiers and printers and things like that. So I know when we had these budget meetings before, that has came up, and it has came up in human resources prior directors about the contracting out for work. Right, but to my point, this is, the work is being contracted out when, no, we still have guys that can prepare the, there's a gentleman named that was the bar, the IT guy. Exactly.
We no longer have guys repairing copiers.
No, nobody's preparing copies. That's okay, that's okay, no, I appreciate it. But still to the point, is that there are 84, you said 84 copiers. But
On one of these, the
On one-
other one's like 145.
The maintenance agreement is.
why lease, why not buy?
They're very expensive and they don't have huge terms of life.
And then they have a contract to where they break down, you replace them, send someone out to fix them, and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't come back, I gotta do it.
Okay.
Is the contract for maintenance a required contract in order to lease? Or is that a separate contract?
The lease contract also provides, maintenance on the ones that are leased. The maintenance contract is for the copiers that we've already purchased. Several years ago, we did a lease to, purchase. And, those ones have rolled over to purchase. At the end of the lease agreement, we purchase them for $1. And then we have to maintain them. So that's what the maintenance contract is.
And that's the 130?
The 130 is the district print shop.
Oh, sorry. So
Those are the big machines in the print shop.
is that the 120 then, or the
The
77?
120 is the maintenance agreement, and the 77 is the lease.
Got it, okay. So. In your opinions. It wouldn't make sense for us to hire someone who can do the maintenance? Over this contract?
We went away from that a couple of years ago. I mean, we had in-house, and it was more cost effective to go through the outside agency to do it.
How many positions did we have?
Great.
We have 3. So from 3 full-time positions to the contract for 120. How much did that save?
The 3 positions would be around 80,000, so 2.
And this wouldn't be able to be work that can be done by one person.
We have
Require
multiple
multiple people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you know how it is when your copier breaks down. You want somebody there.
Right, right. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, superintendent?
I'm standing, you guys. I don't wanna stand, I wanna sit. I would recommend, if we're talking about all 3 contracts, I would recommend maintain. Again, provides cost savings for district. From prior practices.
And one more topic, this was reduced last year. We renegotiated the leasing term to save about 100,000. And so this is the lower amount, so we already cut it last year.
So maintainable.
Okay, let's move to a vote. We're gonna vote as a group for all 3 unless someone would like to separate on that. Let's move to the vote. And except for Teamsters. Neutral. Thoughts?
Did you go to retain?
And we're going to,
Okay,
we discussed.
okay. Unanimous rating on all 3. We can go to Republic.
All right, well, public services, trash, they pick it up and pay for it. We
Services.
got a lot of trash. We pay 886,000. Food service pays for a portion of it, but full majority is the rest of the district.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
Okay.
Okay, vote, everybody in agreement? Let's keep our trash services, okay, sounds good. Retain unanimously.
Actually, you do.
Okay, these 3 also go together. This is,
Mr. Carter,
oh, yeah.
Did we get any reimbursement back, in regards to the strike that we held, that they?
For trash.
Yeah, for track. Remember there was a strike a couple months back, where they weren't picking up anybody's garbage, like,
Boston strike.
and,
Homeowners
we
we
got,
got a savings.
We did not. I believe they were still picking up trash.
They still they picked up our trash at IT, I know that.
well, did they?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just.
Should've brought my trash to you.
Just saying that maybe some people did just because we saw a lot, but
That's not a legal transaction.
businesses.
Right.
Yeah, well, maybe we could look into that to see if everybody's trash got picked up, if not, then you can.
Look at that.
And they pick up on during the holiday weeks, even when we're gone and stuff also. Anybody that knows during February break, yeah. The gates are locked again, think of that.
I think there's something about it public good, like they could not pick up trash. So. We can definitely look into that.
Yep.
Share that.
Probably right, thank you.
Okay, these three go together. This is our annual payment and interest on the 1400 Marina Way FOC building that we purchased a couple of years ago. I want to say like 2017 or 18. It's the annual payment for the building.
For the building or like a property tax?
No, for the building.
For the
Yeah,
building.
they paid for it up front. We're paying them back with interest.
Oh, I see. Any questions?
What building is this again?
1400 Marina Way South, where his services and FOC are.
The number at the bottom is what's still owed, or, I mean,
Bottom.
oh, no, never mind, these are the same numbers, how much do we still owe?
I want to say there's 3 or 4 years left, and then they keep going down. The interest keeps going down as the principal goes down, so maybe a little over $1 million.
Do we also own the charter building right there? No, it cuts off at the.
Yeah, they're not connected.
Not connected, no, there's like a little shopping.
Yeah. Yeah, Bubbaloo's right there.
Yeah, Bubble, yeah.
We don't own them.
They're not. DC.
I was wondering. Oh, okay. Shoot, I was like, let's charge them that. I have. Any discussion?
The district owns the property?
We will.
We were 3, 4 years.
Fine. Property, right.
Okay, move on or vote.
Everybody okay with this one?
Who maintains the building?
Us. I mean, in what, yeah, I mean, us. Administration. You mean like when air conditioning goes out and stuff?
Yep, or the heating, or the bathroom issues, things like that. Who maintains all of that?
Maintenance department, depending on
Windows.
what their load is, and then we might contract out depending on what the fix is. But maintenance maintains it. I guess David Oliver, if you want to talk about the controls.
Those who participate in the New Girls group in the health center, today's group will be canceled and will resume next week. Once again, those who participate in the New Girls group in the health center, today's group will be canceled and will resume next week. Thank you.
Okay, any last questions or comments on this one? Okay.
All right, the last one on this sheet is all one PO. I guess 2 POs, elementary and secondary. These were the materials and supplies purchased during the strike for principals. To buy materials needed. Can't do that. So these will not be returning next year. They are on general fund, and it was about 150,000 for combined. But they didn't spend it all.
Yeah.
So they spent like 101,000 of the 150.
So this won't be reflected on next year's budget, right?
This will not be in next year's budget.
And sites can't continue to spend this down, like it was just like.
It was closed on the 10th.
Any questions? on this? Ken?
What type of materials were bought? Maintained, I mean, is it?
It was like games and supplies for the, for keeping the kids entertained during that.
Arts.
Yeah.
It had a lot of, exceptional supports around, arts and sciences, some of it also, which is just a thing we did to people. The pivots that they have.
And do we know how many kids actually participated in this?
We do, but you kind of have this for that time, and every single principal had their own site plan as well as a simple budget that aligned to their instructional.
Will there be a workout on that? And report out on that, and how much was spent towards each child and how budgeted out? That would be my question at this point. Is it cost efficient? Did we retrieve the money back with the kids attending? The ADA spending this $200,000 out.
I'm sure we could figure out the amount, given the number of students that attended each day, and also the students that were in the study. I would imagine that we did, but work together and identify what those kind of per people costs would have been.
I mean, if we're gonna put the money out, I wanna make sure that we're at least trying to recoup some of it in some manner. That it's over and above. Times the
One, and quite frankly, attendance was very different at different places, right? We had a day where they had just one student, but we had 200 students show up in Perry's. And they got the same amount of resources to prepare because they did that.
And
So,
yeah, they had to order this in advance of the strike, so they didn't know how many kids they would have showing up.
So were those fun resources that they didn't project out appropriately? Were those resources from one site? Like you said, Lake had one student and Perry's had 200. Were those resources then shifted over?
no, they were not. Those resources were tied to instructional and logistical plans. And so the sites kept those resources. They delivered those programs based on the number of kids they had. What we did do is we shifted resources centrally, both within capital and as principals needed additional support, provided that additional support.
And the items they purchased didn't disappear after the strike, so they stuff they bought.
Right.
Any additional questions? Any discussion? And this is not gonna reflect on anything, so we don't need to vote on keeping this one.
Okay,
Okay, was that the last one?
that was for fiscal business
Business
services. I mean,
services.
there's other areas of the service, but I know there's other people here from other departments that might wanna.
Got it. And just to summarize, we're gonna bring back the metrics and then the Lozano Smith contract. Was there anything else that we tabled? No, that was it. Okay. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. And then we'll come back. Okay, so just 5 minutes. We'll be back at 11:03.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna now move to college and career. So if you have the sheet in your computer, go to the bottom and then move to the college and career tab. If we have time, we're gonna then do positive school climate. But if not, we will table everything else for the next meeting. Just for context, we had a discussion. We are going to try to add 2 additional meetings in April, just because we're having some great discussions and hopefully we continue to have those great discussions, but we want to be overly prepared, then get to May and not have enough time, right? So we're gonna stay after the 5 of us and figure out 2 additional dates, and we'll send them all to all of you to see if those work. Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll pass it out to Mr. Carter.
Yeah, so this is the college and career sheet. It's the same format. I'll let Jessica defend her contract.
Which I thought example, hi everyone, my name is Jessica Petrilli, I'm the director for college and career, and I have with me Ariel Percival, she's our CTE coordinator. The very first contract you see here is the San Jose University. We had a mental health support grant, grants to us by the federal government. And we had two sub-grantees, one being San Jose State and one a little farther down, St. Mary's College. And so those were awarded to them. We wrote the grant with them, so that was part of the grant. To pay them for their services, they supported us in getting counseling interns at Kennedy High School and Dijon Middle School this year. The original grant was for 5 years. It was a build out to other schools. It got truncated because of our president, and it was cut off to December. So we did the best we could with the truncated time. But that was what we were awarded for their services to support us.
So is this funding going away next year?
So as I just came from a call because uniquely, they are losing in the courts. And they're allowing this grant to now continue till December. So we're kind of in the same boat that, if I'm being honest, is annoying because what I really want is to hire a person to support this grant. That's what originally was written. Like we'd have a position from our district to support this grant and really build out this internship program. But again, I'm stuck in a situation where I can only hire someone for 6 months of the school year. So we're trying to figure out what we can do and if this is possible to continue. And it's likely they're going to give us 6 months and then say, and now here's another couple months. So just being really patient with me and trying to work with me, and we're trying to figure out what we can do. But we were just recently in the last 2 weeks awarded up to December of next year. And that would be then rewriting, and it's for less money. So we do have to work with our partners and see if they can still do it for less money. But I did talk to them and they are interested in continuing to work with us.
Just December 26th or 27th?
Sorry, I'm 26. Sorry, yeah. I'm in such school year, it's hard to go to real years. Yes.
We can take a pause real quick. Mr. Carter, could you put this attachment onto the agenda? This one was not on it attached. Just wanted to. Okay, questions?
I was just going and citing with the laws with CCGI. I thought this is what we were going into. I apologize. Why would we do a position?
That's what I'm saying. We did it this year for the. So originally it was a 5-year grant. So we were gonna hire someone for 5 years to finish this grant, support this build out of intern, counseling intern. And then when the grant got truncated to 1 fiscal year, that was like 6 full months here. So then Mr. Hamilton and myself, we basically did the best we could to keep it going into the 6 months. And those are the partners, that was what they got paid to support it. It was more than 6 months for them because they had to build their grant.
Just the contract itself is with. Correct.
Yeah, the contract.
How did okay. So how did those coincide with the school climate?
Oh, so we're in college for.
I get that, but positive school climate has a lot of mental health. So how is it coinciding and working with them? Are they
Going to get counselors. College and career counselors or school counselors.
Well,
She
counselors.
said mental health. so
Yeah,
that's really-
and I think she brings up a really good point to bring to everyone's awareness. The school counselor, mental health and social emotional well-being is one of their 3 domains. And so a lot of people think of school counselors as academic or college and career. There's this whole other pillar in AXA, and that's exactly the reason why this grant, we were awarded the money, because more school counselors need support for mental health, how to support them in that role. And so that's what the university professors were doing. You know, they're college professors about counseling, and they're helping our counselors learn how to be best stewards of mental health support for students in their role as a counselor at school.
Kind of a bridge between.
Yes.
both.
And the demand on school counselors right now for mental health support is higher than it's ever been. Yes, we have amazing community school supports and centers at the high schools. It's still never enough. A school counselor is still the first line of defense for the mental health support of our students.
The grant was written in collaboration between the 2 departments. College and career and positive school climate work together in writing the grant. The work is housed in college and career because they do the training and support of our school
that wasn't explained, so that's why I'm asking. Why are we? Were the people in posit, were they equally trained? So that we could continue this? No, they were not. But I'm hearing, they weren't.
When you say they,
No, were the people in positive, were the psychologists, were the positive climate school groups? Because I mean, I've had the mental health come through the classified training days and teach people how to work with each other. How was that collaborated in with them? I mean, you're saying that the grant was co-written, but housed in college and career. Why weren't they both housed in this collaboration? So that
The
both
grant
groups
was written
could
in
work together.
collaboration, but to bring some transparency, we didn't receive the funds for a long time. And then the Trump administration was chipping away and pulling back at the grant. So the work that's been done in the scope is not as robust as we would have liked. This contract is for a partnership with St. Mary's and with San Jose State, because there's kind of multiple tracks. We're partnering with them to get intern counselors in and create a talent pipeline. There's also funding that supports professional development, and the lead agency for that PD has been. And so when we look at the actual contract and the service provided in the contract that is funded through the grant was co-written to ensure that the philosophy and the practices were aligned. But the deliverer of services in this case is these universities.
yeah, and two counselors specific.
So it's no longer in December.
For now,
Unless they keep extending it, but we don't find out until the court decides.
yeah, like the court gave a 1 month extension to start, then they gave a 2 month. But they like to do it 2 months, because the whole program is recruiting. Then they just now said, now until last month, it's like,
And are these people that are coming to work with us permanently or
there's
only?
potential for it. You know, that position, but then.
So remember, it's 2 tracks, right? So we bring in interns for counseling, sort of like a student teacher. And if there's vacancies, we could retain and hire them. And then there's the PD with student staff that we already.
Do we have any feedback on how this is received and outcomes from the high school site and the middle school site? And is this going into elementary also?
I mean, anecdotally, when I spoke to Kenzie on, they're very happy. There's on used to having 1 counselor, and then was not, and additional support, so that it was sort of transformative, but I can make it something more like. Yes.
So the St. Mary's and San Jose, are they actually doing the recruiting of the interns?
Yes.
They do the
Yeah, they're
recruiting.
doing all the heavy lifting in terms of getting them in the program. What we're facilitating is, our veteran counselors, they get a stipend to be supervisors and support for those interns.
So, and. Okay. I want to try to say this. Okay, so St. Mary's and San Jose State, they do the recruiting of interns.
Yeah.
For the program.
Yeah.
Right now, you know that you have funding only through December, which would be
Fall.
just through the
Fall only,
fall.
which is
fall-
the same boat we were in last year.
Fall term, fall term for them
Yeah.
as students,
So
which isn't. But the other piece that you are unable to do fully would be to hire someone to provide oversight and support, but implementation of the grant.
right, it was me and Hamza checking in with these professors to see how things were going. We brought them into our council meeting, they give like 3 hours of PD every council meeting monthly. We would check with them, how are things going? So ideally, to make it super robust, I would hope this grant could go back to the original, which would be like a petition, but we're just not there yet. But those were the sub agreements that we had because we wrote the grant with them.
So realistically, and I'm asking, there's no judgment in that. If you had interns for the fall, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Is a larger or part of the larger issue that you are unable to hire someone to kind of oversee.
Because you don't know if you're gonna have the money for the following, for the remainder of the school year, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, like,
Yeah.
Yep.
so like you could get the interns, it's just putting something else on somebody else's plate who's already in your department to make sure that.
And this is a package, it's both
Yeah.
St. Mary's and San Jose, all the same grant.
Yeah,
My question, is this really something we vote on? I mean, it's a grant.
Yeah.
It seems like we're at the mercy of the current administration federally, if it's something that's going to continue. I mean, certainly providing help and support to students is never that. Student first, so.
I think that. So honoring transparency, that's why we're bringing all of these.
Okay.
yeah.
But I do think that most of college and career and actually most of positive school climate would fall under that category. So it's a grant program that we're sharing that information and providing that information to this group for your awareness as well. I don't think there's necessarily a vote on this.
Thank you.
Okay. One more.
I did want to clarify, this we were asked, this spreadsheet was specifically not on the agenda. We can add it during the meeting. Whenever we're discussing items, the attachments can be added during the meeting legally without us having to have it before, correct? So for example, like at board meetings, we have the superintendent report. Sometimes we don't attach it until we get to that item. Legally, we can do that as long as we listed the item on the agenda, right? We're just going over the contracts. Okay, we just went into it. Okay, so yes, we're not really gonna vote on these, but it's more for information. Everybody okay moving forward? Okay.
Which are our readings.
Yeah, the UC Regents Conference, the very first one, that's specifically for our DCAC advisors. We had a partnership with EAOP, UC Berkeley program. We have 6 advisors across our 6 comprehensive high schools that work full-time in the college and career, the college and career counselors, like department areas as a support. And this is our contract to work with them. And they've been amazing. 85% of our DC and EOP cohort seniors last year applied for a 4-year university or a 2-year junior college experience. Overall, 78% of the students who are in the cohort of the seniors were A through G eligible. And that's compared to 43% of our overall seniors. So they work really hard to help the students on a one-on-one basis when they're seniors. They do a lot of tier 1 intervention. I can say a lot about them, but I just want to say it's a very effective program. The funding is actually through Title I for our schools that are Title I and Title IV for our 2 schools that are not Title I, like Hercules and El Cerrito.
They also, they serve 180 to 200 kids per advisor. So with just the same 83% of this threshold, it's a large number of kids, given you can think about most of our graduating classes are 250 to 300 kids.
They're also the reason we have like the giant college and career fair that we all enjoy. This week, for example, was Higher Ed Week. They just this week were at El Cerrito High, Kennedy High, Richmond High, doing their own college fairs for the sophomores and juniors.
Every single advisor is a first gen college student and student of color. And they actually, most of them are returning alumni at this point. And so that's also really the goal, to welcome our alumni back in this role of college leadership.
So the total of what we're discussing is the 160,000 plus the 120,000, correct?
I don't think we're just.
No, that's separate.
Yeah, it's a different.
We're just talking about the Title I 160.
Got it, okay. Any questions? Christine?
78% of the students that they work with are meeting A to G requirements. Do you have a breakdown by race and ethnicity for that?
Their cohorts, I'm looking at their end of year report. They have so much data. So I can look to see if I find something. Their senior seriously. Okay, so cohort by ethnicity, they have it specific by school. I get share stuff. Okay. I can tell you what page it's on. It's on page 11. Can I share that with you, Jeff?
Sure.
Okay.
I can put it in the email chat or the email chain. Thank you.
So I think it would be interesting. I'm not saying that it's not valuable. Again, I think anything that provides service to students is really valuable.
Yeah.
And, you know, we say the counselors are people of color. It would be nice to know that the counselors are kind of proportionate, even racially, to the racial and ethnic demographics of the district. I think that's really important. And I'd also like to see if it's being implemented equitably as opposed to equally.
Yeah.
Right? Because we know that certain sites require, for, you know, through no fault of the community, there are sites that would require perhaps a more intensive type of support than we might find in other sites. And so, interested in making sure that folks who are going to those sites, paying this kind of money, are actually like culturally responsive to the needs of the community that they are serving. And then again, back to that 78%, that sounds great, but it's not so great if, for example, the majority of that 78% are coming from schools like, since you named them, like Hercules and El Cerrito, as opposed to a kid.
That's very thing, yeah. They do have a slide too that's very specific, but like the high school percentage of students, for example, like this one for African American students. They'll say, you know, the whole school's population is 19% African American and the NCTAC serving 22% African American. They have like a comparison that's showing
For like
yeah, and then the same thing for every high school they have it.
One thing just to keep in mind, these are 2-year fellowships. So what it is they're recent college grads who go into the AC, the Destination College Advisor for at Cal. And so it's a 2-year program, and then the students, after many become school counselors, they go into higher ed, they go into education, and get a new advisor. So the cost per site, I know you see a total there. I want to say it's 40,000 per advisor per site for this full-time staff member that very often is one of our alumni. I know the last 3 I had it, so we're alumni. And there's that rotation that happens, but they do these really clean, strong handoffs to each other. When we think about intensive supports, we have one of these advisors at every of the comprehensive high schools. But when you look at Kennedy, De Anza, Richmond High, which are Title I schools, they also have more additional programs that like Hercules and El Cerrito. So Kennedy, El Cerrito, De Anza have colleges too. The TRIO programs are not necessarily at every school. So if you walked into the Richmond High School College and Career Center, you might see 5 different college groups. Where at Hercules, it may be a smaller amount. So this isn't the only program we work with, but I would say they are a gold standard of service. And they work really close with admissions at Cal. So literally, the support kids get in the college process is top notch.
I guess what I'm wondering, so I guess I have a couple questions in that. 40,000 per body. Are these two, are we paying, are they getting a stipend, or is that for the cost of like, learning support?
You know, I would have to honestly ask Gina
Okay.
that
Yeah.
question.
So that's
I
just kind of
think
like
it's like
wondering.
subsidized, like you pay in and they have some grants that pay in. I think that's what, that's how they pay their advisor.
And I think, and I hear what you're saying, and that's great that we have other schools that have additional supports. Then that begs the question, how do all these things work together? Like if
if it's been determined, if you said our Title I side, so Richmond High, Kennedy, DA. If they have additional supports beyond this, how do all of those things work together? Is it if you're in one thing, you're not allowed access to the other? Like, how are those,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? Like, how are those determinations being made?
Yeah.
Because again, it goes back to this number. Well, in this particular program, this is where we are, this is what we're seeing. Are these other programs, is their output equal or better to this particular thing? Or do
Yeah.
they all kind of work,
Yeah.
collaboratively towards ensuring more positive academic outcomes for our students, more specifically our students of color, our students who are English learners, et cetera.
Yeah, and you bring up such a good point. That's why the college and career counselor is so pivotal. Like whoever's the college and career counselor, they know all the providers that their school has chosen to be in partnership with. And they usually hold a master list of like what each provider does, who they specialize for, the list of all the students, tracking where the students are. They really do encourage that they don't want one kid to be in 8 programs. They want every student to have an opportunity to get a program.
Right.
So they do really try not to. Like there are some smaller sites at Kennedy, they're like, that's all, like some kids are just doubled up because that's what happens. It's a smaller senior cohort. And they have a lot of programs that want to work with them because a lot of times these agencies, they're doing grants, it's all in kind. And they want to work with a school like Kennedy or Richmond High, so they'll have more offering there.
But at what point do we move to like a trainer model? At what point does the district take responsibility for making sure that the students that are here are actually have access to the programs, not because we've contracted out, and I'm not saying that should. I'm not, no shade, no judgment, but at what point do we take responsibility for the students who are here? And making sure that they have access, because ultimately that's what we're talking about, right? Is access to higher education, if that's what they choose. At what point does that occur? Because you're right, you could write grants ad infinitum. And you could have an infinite number of contracts, but at some point, quality varies. As
Right.
people vary.
Right. And I brought up quality. I mean, this has been a long-standing partnership that's high quality, high value.
I'm a golden bear, I'm
Yeah.
never gonna.
No, and I'm not
Never gonna
kidding you, like, because there are a lot of nonprofits that are doing their best and, they have okay programs, but this one has been delivering. If you look at this report I just gave you, like how in-depth it is per school, you'll love it.
Thank you.
I'll send it to direct.
I appreciate.
Yeah. But I can't.
And our regional advisor for our area is a Richmond High alum, so we just have to shout that out as well.
And she was a counselor at the end. Okay.
Thank you. Kim and then.
What's the follow-up after they graduate? Is there any documentation on how they succeeded? Or what? That.
I'll make sure to see if in this report.
Because I mean, if we want the kids to succeed, and we're putting all of this into them now, how are we following up and making sure that they're actually succeeding in college where it's a larger fishbowl and there's not gonna be 200 to 300 kids to be focused on by a counselor. There's 1,000 kids to be focused on by a counselor at a college level. So are we making sure those kids succeed with this program?
One of the things that's really cool, and not just this program, but others do, they do a lot of enrichment and mentorship that goes into college. They really view themselves as to and through. Before we had school links, the only reason we actually had persistence data was because they would send us the TPS the clearinghouse reports that gave us the data. Now we can actually get that on our own. But we actually only had it because of this partnership. But I would say that's a focus. And look, we know our persistence rates are not where we want them to be. Not because of this organization. I think that's a larger conversation in general. But I know that there is a attention of this group to thinking about that.
Yes, so I have a couple questions as well. I appreciated Christine's question about impact of our contracts, right? I mean, I feel like those are the type of questions that we want to ask for all the contracts that we outsource, right? The work to support our students. Even with School Links, like the presentation that we got, it's great. But one of the first things that I looked at and I turned to the superintendent about was the disparity between our high need students, which are our biggest population in this district, are the ones that are being least prepared, right? For lack of better words. So my question is, when we see this type of data, and we're making progress, which is great, right? I don't want to show that we've not, because the progress is amazing, but when we see this data in contracts like School Links or with, you know, these specific programs, how do we push them to look at those specific group of students that are our biggest focus for a reason, and push them to increase their support and readiness for, you know, our African-American students and our Latino students specifically?
Yeah. I'd say there's no program that I've worked with for counseling that's not their target group. And you'll see in this report, that's exactly, they're trying to help. And first generation students are the most important qualifier for this program and being socioeconomically challenged. So it's right there. And I've told them how important it is. Like I've had her present at APAC and making sure she has specific data for African American students, like reminding her that that's a group, so she made sure that's in the report. Yeah, I would say that is important.
Any additional questions? Okay, any discussion?
You know, we move forward with this. The work that we're doing.
Okay, David, how do you feel?
It's 1, 4, and 5.
It's 4 and 5, yeah. SSI, neutral. President?
I think people.
I agree. Everything. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, because that was just funding this year. This are continuing, right? These are grants that are continuing, right? This is the ones, they're continuing for next year.
Yeah, this one's Title I, so
Yeah.
yeah, we got every year,
Yeah.
as long as the federal government doesn't take it away.
Right. Okay, so we're retaining, so. Okay, and continue.
The next one, you'll see the funding sources are all from CTE. Sometimes it's directly from the California Partnership Academy that's receiving the service, and sometimes it's from Perkins, which is more of a catch-all for some of our pathway programs that aren't academies, but they're pathway. And then you'll also see there's a partnership with community school. So this total contract with White Plan with UC Berkeley Regents was $120,000. But you can see it was kind of taken from many different places, with 60,000 being from CT grants and 60,000 being from school grants. We're so excited to work with UC Berkeley on this. When we talk about students needing engaging civics, projects, things that they're passionate about, that they're making a difference, that's what this is. So what we did is a cohort model for teachers. We have 10 CTE teachers who are fellows who said they would do a White Plan project with their students with the support of the UC Berkeley team. They got them like real community partners. Like everyone, like I'll give you an example. We just have Richmond High students from the Health Academy. They met with the American Cancer Society. They met with Contra Costa County Health Services. They learned all about vaping and the tobacco retail policy in Richmond. They learned it directly from the source, from the client, saying, this is our problem. This is the ordinance that's going up. It's going to be at city council on this day. The kids did their research. The kids took the class with the American Cancer Society about like public speaking even. Then they went to city council. They shared. They saw that the ordinance passed 6-0. They got to see civic action work. And then what we want this to eventually bridge is now we have an opportunity for students to apply for the state seal of civic engagement when they do projects like this. So it's kind of like a multi-pronged thing, like teachers, this curriculum is free, it's completely online. They could just find Y Plan and do it, but we all know if no one's stepping you through it, no one's showing you how to create a community contact partner like this, that we hope is longstanding. So far, every partnership, they're like, we can't wait to do this project next year too. So that's the bridge we needed. The UC Berkeley team, this is what they do. And it's the Center for Cities and Schools. It's a very specific thing with Deb McCoy, Dr. Deb McCoy. She's worked with us in the past. That's why we reached out to her. She used to work with the Health Academy students. She used to be completely grant funded through like some other grant that I'm not sure what it's called. But Ariella and I were like, we have all these CT Academy projects. How do we make it more rigorous, more meaningful? What can we do? We saw her at a community learning exchange for community schools, and we said, wow, I think you've been what we've been looking for. Can we partner with you? So she works with major school districts across the nation, even internationally. But this has been so awesome. We're gonna have our thing in May where all the students, the top 10 from each school are gonna present. We're gonna have a whole convocation.
And
I'll
just
stop.
to broaden it, Deb's also working with our All Student Congress.
Oh, yeah.
Superintendent Cotton is the client, so we're having students that, and they will bring forward recommendations on the anti-racism. Their project is titled Changing from Policy to Practice, so you will firsthand witness their brilliance. We also are training school directors so that there can be cohorts of students outside of the classroom advising on issues across the school. So this really is a bridge between, as we really analyzed as a team, that the community schools practice wasn't as deep in the classroom or in the academic. We keep defining it as wellness. But if you really think about the community schools wheel we always throw in your face, we need kids in the community solving problems, right? That's actually where we become well-rounded. This is what this is allowing us to do. So it's living in a bunch of places. Jess and her team have done such a good job in the inaugural year. The vision is that this partnership holds for 3 years and then it gets larger every year and then can become self-sustaining for the district. But Deb actually says she's been a researcher for 20 years. She thinks this is the most exciting work she's done as a researcher. She's probably going to write another book.
Let's move to question. Thank you for that. Okay.
So, since you're integrating this, is the All Student Congress part of this program too?
Yes.
Then, and also, since you're doing all the CTE work and is it going in through avenues through our adult school programs? Are you looking at those areas in the programs that they offer to enhance kids to continue moving forward? Taking classes, the adult school and the different, we have the construction, we have the health, we have different areas where they could see if this is really the avenue we want to move towards, or just not just taking it in high school, and looking at the avenues, speaking from experience with this child that went into the health academy, was in the health academy, turned around, went into health, and found once she graduated, as it was my ideal, and spent a lot of money getting into going through the program. Learning further on, they could have been doing. I mean, I have 2 kids that are in the trades at this point, and if they would have had a little bit more into it, I think one of them would have taken a different avenue. I know she would have. I mean, going into the adult school has programs, and we can continue in education, because not everybody wants to go to college for a 4-year or a 2-year program. Maybe they wanted to try something else, and we do have options.
I can answer that just briefly. We work with the adult school and counselor integration is more internal than it is using a contract. Like we'll talk with Brooks or previously when it was Lansing and coordinate presentations to high school seniors. That's more of like a counselor to adult school integration. To your piece about post-secondary options, post-12th grade, it's not college. We say it's not college for all, it's plan for all, post-secondary plan. So like, whether it's this or that, we ask students, how much do you want to make, how long do you want to be in school, and let's make sure that we expose you to every single option so that you and your family can make an informed decision.
I'm sorry about your kid and the health, one of the things we say is why you do health in high school is because to save yourself from that financial burden of thinking you want to do it. I would just say, the example she shared was health related. We have another example where the client is the Richmond Public Works Department. And they have hired the engineering students on a public works, project to like revamp 23rd Avenue. For multiple different ways, both like the cultural media aspect of, or like cultural impact and arts impact, but also the safety. Like crossing 23rd, Richmond High student is impacted by traffic at least every year. And so they're doing that piece to both be like, here's the engineer who does the project, and here's the public works individual, and they're mentoring and doing that. So yes, and yes. If I may, but
These funding streams are specific though to the TK-12 system, and the college and career funds are specific to second year. And so these grants are restricted in that way.
How is that going? How are they opened up to our special education diploma track kids now that are changing?
It always, I mean, kids can,
Because they'll be 22 graduating, a lot of them.
if the student's in a high school, yeah, then they have access, or they should have access, right, in pertaining to their ID.
was this first cohort, you talked about a cohort,
Yeah.
was this a cohort of the Willie?
Yes,
Okay.
we have 40 CT teachers. We advertise to everyone. Some people are like, I was so interested in this school year, so I was like, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't. We have like maybe 6 new teachers. They were like trying to learn their new trades, their new teaching craft, I should say. So we took the 10 who were like, yeah, I have some capstone projects. I'd love mentorship. How do I make it more meaningful? How do I get a better partner? A lot of times you'll see like the trifold, a research page thing, and the kids all share in the, like at the end of high school or something. This is what I've seen up here. It's like the senior capstone project, they all come someday and they all share like internally with the teachers and other students their project, and then the project's done. They never have that. I shouldn't say never, but it's harder to find that actual client, the actual partner, having the connection to the industry or the community development department right in your hometown, who's saying, I have a real problem. I have a problem I need your help solving as a student. Can you research this and come back? So now it's like flip the paradigm. It's not just students with passion projects, which is fun and cool to do. It's now they're having a real client and trying to solve it. And the kids are much more engaged. They're like, oh, I can help. I have ideas. I'm going to research. Even sometimes the survey is just at their own schools, you know,
It's also just for data, and we encourage specifically there was targeted internal relational stuff of like, hey, and so Kennedy's One Academy is in, and then they had done it before as well. And Richmond High, the principal actually made a choice that all of their academies were gonna opt into this model.
Since you brought up, so Kennedy has one academy, international academy.
No,
What's their academy?
it's in transition at the moment, but it's been called ITA Academy,
Which stands for
Information Technology.
Alfredo Zavala to the front office. Alfredo Zavala to the front office. Thank you.
They also have CTE pathways in welding construction.
And does that count for this? Would that count as far as getting support around?
Yeah.
So I guess just kind of a wondering, since this is a cohort of Willie, again, that's amazing. Anything that helps kids reach their goals is always a positive in my book. However, if you don't have the Willie in certain places, is there some part of this where you put people in place so that kids will have access to, because kids should be penalized for the lack of someone wanting to do this, or because a particular academy doesn't exist at their school? We're trying to build attendance. We're not trying to have kids moving all over the place. I'm sure folks in the transfer office would appreciate that. But the last thing you want kind of destabilizing a school is for students to move from one place to another because they might have access to something that they don't have access to.
The goal with doing the Coalition of the Willing was to have proof of concept so that we as a college and career partner with community schools could work towards integrating it as as close to as a requirement as we feel okay today. So we wanted to do proof of concept to then say, this is what every student is doing.
because like I said, the curriculum is free online. In theory, any teacher right now could go on, follow the wide plan process. It's just hard to do on your own. And so we're like, this is the steroids you want. you want UC Berkeley, they have this team, they have this senior class. You have young people from Berkeley coming to talk to our students and like helping them with the project, like. I don't know, it's very invigorating, and then the trainer thing that you said is sticking with me, because that's the ultimate goal, like first. That's a quarter of our CT teachers, so we got 25% doing a project right now that they're excited about, to publicize, they're getting attention, there's momentum, their kids are excited. That's gonna make another cohort wanna do it next year, and the 10 who have learned it are gonna wanna continue these projects. So it's just like, I feel like it's just gonna keep every year. My goal is to contract with them for at least 2 years. Hopefully, I think 3 would take it to the next level, so we really get everyone. Oh, we use Wi-Fi methodology. This is research-based. UC Berkeley uses it in their own public health department. You know, so that's what I was trying to do, like elevate our game of our CT capstone project and what we're asking of students and the connection. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, any discussion? Okay, Superintendent Cotton.
I think this is an outstanding program, and also a way to integrate multiple funding streams and multiple areas of focus to support our students. I'm sorry, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for a great just program in itself, to provide students with applicable learning opportunities that are relevant to their personal growth and relevant to civic learning, which are things that are of interest to our district. To me personally, I think it's also a very meaningful and impactful way to grade funds from across our districts to support our students.
Sorry, we were all trying to
Continue.
get Jeff's attention that he was showing us this email.
I got it.
Thank you for that. Let's move forward to the vote from labor. Yeah, unanimous. Was it?
Move forward.
Same, okay, unanimous retention. Yeah. Let's move to the next one. I think that this will be the last one, and unfortunately, you guys will have to come back to the next meeting.
Schooling spend.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was gonna say, the 3 above and the 2 below school links are all grant funded from the academy grants, which are sustaining and ongoing. And from specific grants that we will not do those contracts if we don't get the grants. And they are to pay student internships.
Rising 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, if you have not signed with your counselor to be added in the Health Academy for the 26-27 school year, please go to the counselor's office to sign the form now. Once again, rising 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, if you have not signed with your counselor to be added in the Health Academy for the 26-27 school year, please go to the counselor's office to sign the form now. Thank you.
You guys asked them to make the announcement.
Yes. Anyway, I know we can move on, we can use one, but I just want to let you all know, mentoring in medicine and science is essentially, we pay for a partner to come in and train students in mental health, first aid, CPR, regular first aid. They also run an internship program over the summer. That's paid for by a grant. If the grant goes away, we will try to find other sources, but that's a grant missing only. The Ed Fund is, we have 2 grants that actually are allowed to pay students. It's very rare in grant land to be able to give money to a student. We contract with the Ed Fund so that they can be the employer of record, because internship hosts aren't interested in taking on the liability of the student. So we contract with them, they hire the students, and the money actually is routed to the student plus the bit that they take off the top to that restriction. And then the Center for Development is also mock trial and law academy internships all granted.
These are all required to be a high quality program. So we do have to tell, it's our reporting system, how do we do internship? How do we do certification? Like, so those health certifications are required of health students, but they have to have opportunities to be certified in things that are industry recognized. So we're really excited that we have MINS. MINS is also all student, run by all people of color, local. They're very engaging. The kids love them coming in.
Sorry, I didn't mean to, I just was like, wow, they're all the same, you could clump them, whatever that's decided.
I do have a question about the Ed Fund though. How many students does that pay
Last year, there was 107, and so this year, we've only done like 5 so far, but we're about, this summer is the big time. So that's when we're gonna explode with internships. So I think we're hoping for 70,
Cost of labor increases for student interns as well.
and so minimum wage went up.
That's right.
So we just do the maximum we can with the money we have, basically. We put all of that grant towards paid internships.
Got it. Okay, before we move to school links, any questions on those specific contracts that you talked about? I fund, MIMS and, Center for Youth Development. Okay, then let's move to school links.
Ready? You printed.
Actually, pause there, sorry, we have 5 minutes. I don't know, do you feel like that's enough time to get through school links?
I think it's an obvious yes, but I'm happy to come back.
I think that it's possible. So as we've been doing to introduce, if it requires deeper conversation or take one to the conversation of this group, then we'll do that, but offer the presentation and go through our process.
Let's do that.
Okay, so School Links is the only one funded by LCAP. So I just want to make sure that's clear, and that was intentional. When I really thought about the one thing I would like the school district, if the budget I get for college and career, what is the one thing I really need for college and career? I need a platform. Not I, but like for the collective good. I would like a platform. You've been using it for 3 years. Every year it's growing. This is a platform for students, one stop. This is where they can see when we get new scholarships. They can see when there's internships. Our work-based learning coordinator tracks all the internships here. It can be very adjustable. Like I said, I'm building out the
Jessica, talk about that.
Okay, I'll definitely talk about 4-year plan. So for example, LCAP, beginning of LCAP, they said one of our biggest goals is to have 4-year plans for all students. How do you track that? Originally, when I first talked to my counselors, everyone had their own Google sheet. Oh, this is how we do it. There was no way for me to really report and tell everyone 100%. This is how many students in this group have a 4-year plan. I had no way to really pull it besides just asking the honest policy, like counselor, show me how you do it at your school. This was huge. Like when I could say, this is all transparent. This is all in School Links. Every student is coming from PowerSchool. Every student with all their demographic data, I can see how many kids have made a plan, how many counselors have approved the plan, what schools haven't even started a plan. Within a school, who are the kids who are also being missed? And we finally hit like 84% today of students in grades 9 through 11 have a 4-year plan. The essential thing is that when the counselors come in and they're sharing the tool, they're helping a student learn their graduation requirements, their A through G requirements in real time. They're helping them see their grades. If they're, for example, at 10th grade, look at your grades from 9th grade. See if you got D's or F's. Look right here. This is where you can go to a community college class to make it up. This is where you can go to summer school to make it up. But you do need to make it up to get back on track. So it's like the plan itself is helping the kid adjust, realize this is where I was, this is where I thought I'd be, this is where I'm going. It's also unique to the school. What one high school offers is not the same as another. So we intentionally like tweak it. We meet with Splints every Friday to tweak and make sure it's only showing the classes that that school offers. And when that school wants to offer it, because some school courses are only offered during certain years. Now she's gonna share more.
I know, we only have 5 minutes, so I'll just say everything she said, plus to the concerns I was hearing earlier, which I just want to speak to. We're working on building out the alternate pathway for students to graduate so that like the same thing, it's red if the kid hasn't met the requirements, it's green when they have. So around giving students guardrails of like, how is it possible that a student ends up in 12th grade and hasn't met the requirements? How does that happen? Well, it way less likely because it literally is red. Like they would see that it's not possible. We're building out the grad plan. It's also being used for 10th grade check-ins for students who aren't on A through G. Somebody brought up A through G earlier, so that we see if they're not on A through G, then the counselor calls them in and they go through their plan. I think it's also huge with the move to a 6-period day. Sorry to bring that up, but that's just real. You go from an 8-period day where you had 8 times 4, 32 classes you could take, right? 4 years, 8 a year, to 6 times 4, only 24 options. That's an increase in 10 options for a class. So when students are able to say, oh, I can't take art next year, but I can take it the year afterwards, or oh, I want to be able to take AP environmental science, etc. Another question was brought up of how do we know that students and families know what's an offering? There, it's all embedded. So it's like
oh, I can see every AP offering that's offered, it won't be as much of a black box, or isn't as much of a black box of like, do we know that our kid or student or scholar was offered this opportunity? A bunch of other things for timing, but I'll stop it there and ask a question.
It's also how we track the outcomes that parents of which they want to know. When and how we checked in with African American students and English learners. This is the tool that we use to pull the data.
Questions? Yep.
So is this tool being used, all right, languages, how many languages is the families? Is it only going out to the parent, guardian, and their family? And if you can't answer that, I understand that. And then also, is it being written within the IEPs for the students to utilize this, the special ed students, the RSP students, the new high school students on diploma track in special ed, because these are all sources that we're going to continue this program. Are we utilizing it with all student bases or just A to G students?
To your first question, parents who have access is the guardian who is both, who has the Power School login for that child and who is indicated as the parents. And then it's something you know better, I don't know something, but in Power School, there's like 1 or 2 folks who are identified as that student's or like their person, not everybody, so that you as a neighbor or cousin doesn't have a login.
So I'm going to say that needs to be, yeah.
Sure. And they don't get an automatic login, they have to. If they don't get any messages, there's no sending anything or to parents. They're able to log in with their student discipline. For the students with IEPs, I actually have been emailing back and forth to help with RSP teacher who's specifically working with their student around like, oh, but this student had this credit and how can they this. I love your idea about doing it into IEPs. I think that would be a next step to work with.
So I know there's more questions, but we are at 12 o'clock. So we're gonna have to pause and unfortunately you guys will have to come back because I think that there's more questions and maybe a discussion. But this was great. The next meeting is scheduled for next meeting is on the
Pretty sure it's there.
the third, April 3rd. As I mentioned, we're gonna email all of you with 2 additional dates to put in April. We're just gonna spend tons of time together. And then at the next meeting, we're gonna continue with college and career. We're gonna do positive school climate, nutrition, risk management, Title IX, TK-12 operations, and then I think we might start with another department, IT potentially, at that next meeting. Although, yeah, we're going slow, which is good, but you know, we'll continue. Any questions or? Yes.
So there'll be more spreadsheets.
Yes,
That's not it.
no, this is just for the ones that we're reviewing today.
The teaser.
Yes,
Same time.
same time, yeah, 9 to 12. The 3rd of April.
Jen,
You're adding with additional days.
Yes.
Here already.
Yeah, we can.
The breakdown,
Any-
the funding for
Yeah,
the student contract.
Any other questions?
Because it's not a baby.
Thank you, everybody, for the time.
Vendor.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll adjourn.
or non-catholic,